welcome to the Week 3 recap for the LDL Draft League. We're here for a live game actually for Uvio versus Vessel for Game 1. I haven't watched the others yet, but I will go ahead and watch those replays right after this game starts. Right after it finishes. But Uvio's side, we still don't see the Pelipper coming, we don't see Rain. You see this Raikou, this Rillaboom will actually, looks like it goes in versus Vessel very hard. They don't have many switch into this, be able to revenge this Torterra, this Urshifu. But this Metagross of course is going to be a huge issue for Uvio because I don't see anything that can particularly deal with it well. Brady still looks like it would be able to deal with it, but it definitely can't. If this Metagross is packing Power Up Punch or Earthquake or something, it can break through this Registeel very easily, even if this is Iron Defense Body Press. It can only switch in so many times. But on the other side, Registeel, if it can get up those Iron Defenses on something like Claude for instance, then I definitely see it going the other way and actually demolishing Vessel. Vessel does have this Rock Ogre Pawn. They both do have very fast electric types in this Eleki and Raikou, but both do have very solid answers in Claude and Gliscor. But if either go down, then these electric types are sure going to be an issue for the other team. They do each have another check for it though. This Torterra can deal with this Raikou. We see Ribombee lead off into Gliscor. Looks like we're just going to get up webs. Uvio's only form of removal is if this Gliscor does in fact have Defog, and it does. Because at turn 1, gets Toxic Orb activation. This Ribombee could have very easily went for Stun Spore there if it had it. That could have been a big issue. Oh, we do see the skill swap from Ribombee, which does get this Poison Heal, so it will stay at 100% because of this Toxic now. And this Gliscor will start taking damage, which is a really funny start, but I will say if you start off with a Stun Spore, that would have done actually, I think, more to Gliscor in the long run, because it would not be able to get that Toxic up. Goes with that Moonblast. Does basic nothing on Registeel, but now he's probably just going to get those webs back up. But at this point, if Uvio goes back in the Gliscor, he can defog again for free, because Skill Swap will just give him back Poison Heal and it won't do anything here. Or could you just attack and go into defog them away later? Because Vessel doesn't really have any great solid switch-ins to this to try to abuse this Gliscor switching in and defogging. So it's definitely going to be a bit of a hassle for Vessel to try to keep those up during this whole game. Goes Torterra, as this does go for Iron Defense. It is probably going to be that Iron Defense Body Press set, and this does definitely go in versus Vessel. Torterra does have decent mixed special attack, so it could technically be special. But if this goes for another Iron Defense, and at this point, Torterra could be Focus Sash. But this, even though this is weak to Earthquake, this Registeel isn't going to be taking that much damage, and this Body Press I think at this point would OHKO this, even if it isn't Focus Sash. If it is, of course, bring it down to 1, then Torterra would probably be able to get off an Earthquake, which I'd imagine do around 60 to this, yep. See Headlight Roars come out, Body Press just completely demolishes that. Registeel still at 60%. And again, Vessel does still have outs. Urshifu, of course, can crit through the defense boosts, although definitely won't OHKO from this range. That only took 46 from that Headlong Rush from Torterra. Regieleki's their only special attacker that doesn't have moves that are resisted like Ribombee. And this Claude could potentially be unaware. In that case, it would actually deal with this. At this point, this Registeel looking extremely threatening. This Regieleki, I'm tempted to say, actually probably can't OHKO this thing at all. So Uvio has a decision here whether or not he just wants to switch out to Gliscor and play it safe, or if he wants to try to get a lot of damage early off. This has a lot of Spidef investments. Volt switches out to Ribombee. And this Registeel is still going to start getting more HP back as Vessel just tries to get more webs up, I assume. Because Moonblast won't really do much to this thing at all. At this point, if this Registeel reveals to be like Rest or something, Rest with Sleep Talk, because Vessel doesn't actually have have a fighting immunity. They don't have a ghost type. This can very well just be rest, sleep, talk, and kind of sit over Vessel's whole team if it goes for rest about now. It is for rocks. So we do see the hazard scope on Vessel's side. There's defog from the Rebombi, and these webs are never going to be coming up from Vessel. And this Registeel is still at 40%, which I assume looks to be out of the Volt Switch, the Thunderbolt range, because Volt Switch is only doing 25. No, Vessel probably needs to sack another mod unless Claude is still unaware. With Claude, if it comes in, it's going to be basically nothing to this. No, rocks do come back out from Rufio, prioritizing those over the potential body press damage. Metagross becomes Mega, but it only does 15 back. Body press probably won't kill. So Vessel barely gets around this Registeel with his whole team crippled. Rocks are up, 2 bonds are gone, and this Mega Metagross is already under 75% HP, which is definitely a great start for Rufio. I would say it's worth attacking that Registeel. Rillaboom comes in. I'm not quite sure why in particular, because this is slower. Can't really OHKO this with Grassy Glide. It'll definitely live a hit from this Mega Metagross, most likely, if it has any sort of investments. So it's definitely a play, but I would not, I think, advocate for lowering this thing's HP pretty early. When Gliscor could have came in, Raikou probably could have came in, and then forced out Claude, and Claude is very easy for you to switch into. Be able to go into Gliscor, get off your own Earthquakes. A Heavy Slip comes out as knockoff gets rid of Metagross. Still don't see an item on this Rillaboom. Could be AV, could be banned, we still don't know yet. Shifu Single Strike does come in. At this point, it reveals to be non-choiced, and goes for Grassy Glide, gets some chip, and her Shifu just pivot out with U-turn, where Chileki comes in. Now at this point, Gliscor does come in. Grassy Terrain is up, so if it is Earthquake and not some other ground move, then it will be half damage. Earthquake, it does crit, which is actually kind of huge because of the Grassy Terrain and the Reflect. I don't think that would have done much damage at all. I think it would have been able to safely even go out to Shifu after that. Save Regieleki for late game. But again, Regieleki still doesn't look too great late game. Porygon 2 would take its hits very easily. Overpawn and Raikou would also take its hits. Another crit immediately comes out from this Gliscor, just bypassing all these debuffs it has. We see Roost on Gliscor. No, we don't. So most likely this Gliscor is going to end up going down this turn. No, Raikou comes in. Possibly a sack. No, it only takes 87. And this reveals to be Scarf on Urshifu, but it does go down, and now it's just Claude versus the world, and really I don't see any world in which Claude can beat this Gliscor. It is a balloon. Possibly, if this is Curse, it can get up to +6. I still don't think that the +6 Poison Jab would do much at all to this, and it feels to be Stealth Rock, so I do not think it is Curse. Ice Beam comes out and freezes it, so I don't think we will get to see it this game. This actually was, if it had a chance. I'm assuming it didn't, because that's a pretty uncommon set, and versus Gliscor, I'm not sure it could even break through that. Teleport does come out. Gliscor just comes back, and Claude goes down to 1 Earthquake, and Rufio takes us home 3-0. Definitely well played with that Registeel in the beginning. I felt like Vessel didn't have much that could do at all for this one, but this was a good live battle. I'll bring you guys back for the rest of them. And we are back to the replays now. The next battle here is Albert versus Pick. And this match already looks kind of tough for Pick. Of course, the Scizor and this Chien-Pao will be able to kind of deal with this Mega Alakazam because of the fact that Albert did not bring his terrain this time. And this Iron Boulder, if it is booster energy, will be able to outspeed this Mega Alakazam. But in terms of switch-ins to it, he has basically none. He has no Dark type. Even his Psychic Resists in Scizor and Iron Boulder have real trouble switching into this Alakazam. Especially since the Scizor is Mega, it won't be able to basically hold off if spikes come out from Qwilfish, if rocks go up from this Donphan, and it kind of looks like what Albert's going for this time, some sort of hazard stacking esque team, because Pick's only form of removal, of consistent removal of excuse me, is this Wheezing Galar, which kind of lets in a lot of these things for free, like Aegis Slash, like Donphan, like Cinderace. To start off, we do see the Qwilfish lead into Chien-Pao. Looks like Pig wants to get rid of this thing basically immediately. Intimidate does come out, and Qwilfish, it's only a move to actually hit Chien-Pao, I believe, is Reversal. I've used that in the past, but I don't think that's I don't think Albert would run that here. I expect probably just some sort of Spike or Tuck Spike to just immediately come out from Albert. As Pig goes hard Landorus on Thunder Wave, which is definitely a good scout from Pig to find out what this thing has. And now they have a very free Earth Power right here. Qwilfish can never knock this thing out. If it does go for Waterfall, I expect this to probably be Sash, but knows here. He goes hard into Thunderous on Pig, and we do see a good neutral Sludge Wave from Pig, predicting this Thunderous to come in. It goes for another one, as Knockoff comes out for Thunderous and knocks off the Life Orb, as Landorus just kills us off with another Sludge Wave. This could have been a speed tie, or the Thunderous could have not been max speed here. But either way, Albert finally gets Mega Alakazam in. As Skeleturge is the switch in. Trace is unaware, and Sub comes out from Alakazam, but Sub doesn't stop Torch Song. And if this Skeleturge is very especially bulky, it might be able to eat the hits from this Alakazam, because Psychic Terrain isn't up. This can't go for Expanding Force. This goes for Psychic, and this is probably just max special defense on Skeleturge here. So Alakazam is forced to switch out to Qwilfish, which goes for another Shadow Ball. Does get the Spadef Chop, which is a bit unfortunate. But Pig goes Wheezing, gets a Misty Surge, probably trying to prevent any sort of Psychic Terrain from Albert to counter that. But Aegis Slash comes in. Will-O-Wisp does not work because you do have that terrain. Remember that. But this does look like Specs the way it just O-code that Wheezing. So that burn probably wouldn't have done much in the end anyway. But of course, this does let in Chien-Pao. Albert doesn't really have any switch-ins. Qwilfish will die. Donphan probably can't take 2 at this point. And his Aegis Slash is revealed to be Choice Specs based on that damage. Chien-Pao comes out. Rocky Helmet. It does take a bit of chip. And Chien-Pao's left with basically 2/3 of the HP as Qwilfish goes down. Ace comes to Revenge. Most likely U-Turn is going to come out here as Iron Bolter is the switch-in. Is Libero. And this looks to be pretty offensive by the damage it did to Iron Boulder. Donphan does this have Ice Shard, and Iron Boulder, a big threat to this Alakazam outspeed the Cinderace, is taken down very early, and this is looking very great for Albert. But Pig still definitely has ways to win. Chien-Pao is still threatening as ever. Scizor not looking that great actually, because Aegis Slash resistance hits, and Cinderace of course is still full HP. Skeleturge does definitely have a chance of winning. Chien-Pao comes in, but this Donphan does have Sturdy. Even if you go for like a banded Icicle Crash, Ice Spinner here, we'll be able to live with Sturdy and probably knock you out with Earthquake, and I'm not sure if this is quite the trade you want to go for here. Of course, you didn't scout, you don't know if Cinderace has Choice Scarf yet, but Chien-Pao looks like your best shot at winning this game at this point, so I would not like to sack this immediately. As Crunch comes out, this is probably max defense Donphan, because it does basically nothing. And that Gyro Ball just knocks his Chien-Pao out, and this Donphan is still left with a chunk of HP left, just leftovers recovery too. Landorus comes in, Ice Shard does basically nothing, but Earth Power should knock this out. Oh no, it lives on 1. Ooh, this Donphan is super bulky. And okay, the Life Orb was not, because the Life Orb was knocked off earlier for Albert. This Landorus lost a big chunk of its power, and actually this Donphan is able to live, which is pretty huge for Albert. Pig kind of has to go Scizor here. You can never sack this thing immediately, because this is the only way of revenging this Aegis Slash. Scizor does Albert make to predict. He doesn't bother with that, which is a fair play. I'm likely just going to sack Donphan here, but he does keep it around to get rid of Landorus. But I think Alakazam is for the same sort of thing. He goes hard Cinderace actually, as Scizor just goes for SD, forcing him to go into Skeleturge. Albert just goes for the safe Pyro Ball, then goes hard Alakazam, does not click U-turn there, which means that this Cinderace is most likely choiced of some sort, whether it be Choice Scarf or I do not think it's Choice Band based on this damage. I think this Skeleturge just very specially bulky. Alakazam comes in, and this Skeleturge just keeps attacking, doesn't click Slack off. It might not have that, might be choiced or something. Maybe he just did not want to bother with that. He expected Aegis Slash to switch in. Now Sam's going to get rid of that. Scissor's going to come in to revenge it. Let's go for that Bullet Punch. Now at this point, yeah, Cintera's just going to clean up from Albert as long as it doesn't miss. That thing's gone, and yeah, Pick always runs from here, because even if this misses, Donphan will come in and Ice Charge this Landorus. We'll play from Albert bringing that back. So when it started to look like his whole team was walled. What happened there? But it looked like things were going tough with this Badef Skeleturge. As Mr. Turn Reasoning, but he meant to take it back with that Specs Edge Slash, grabbing a crucial KO there. And just breaking this whole thing wide open. Next up we have Lulu versus Naga. And again we see the Psychic Terrain team from Lulu into this very hazard stack oriented team from Naga with the double hazard setters and Masquerade and Fortress, followed by these 4 basically demons, which can function very well with these webs up, with these rocks up. So Lulu needs to play very carefully around their Hatterene and try to keep hazards off. The problem is both of these can hit Hatterene very hard, so we'll see how that pans out. Masquerade leads into Tapu Lele. We can possibly see something like Magic Code from Lele. Also try to bounce these back, but I believe this does not get taught. So at this point you just kind of forced to go hard Hatterene or else webs go up, and webs are very dangerous for this team unless this is some sort of mono boots build, in which case it only hits Ogre Pond. In case you could just attack, that would be an okay play. But if I'm Naga, I would probably just bring Quiver Dance here, so I could just click that here very safe mid ground. Because if this stays in, you always click Sticky Web after. If it goes Hatterene, then you can just attack it after. Hatterene comes hard in, as it just goes for the U-turn and brings in Fortress. Fortress, if this is Gyro Ball, it can't hurt this, so I'm tempted to say this Fortress has to be some sort of heavy slam to deal with this Hatterene, or else it won't be able to do any sort of damage. It is Gyro Ball, yeah, but only does 20 because this thing is extremely slow, so that Gyro Ball is going to be basically 0 base power. Mystical Fire drops this thing down to sturdy, which is a great start for Lulu. They'll be able to click whatever move they want here, and most likely Fortress is just going to be the sag. Goes for Explosion and gets rid of this Hatterene, which is an insanely good bait from Naga, I think, actually not running that heavy slam. Depending on how much that would have done. Now that Hatterene is gone, and this Masquerade is most likely Focus Sash, webs can get up unless the Deoxys Speed reveals Taunt or something of the sort. Masquerade comes in, back on Tapu Lele. Lele does a good chunk to this, as webs do go up. And this Masquerade is gone, as basically Lulu has no way to remove these webs at this point, and Chiyu does come in. It is faster. Focus Blast does 98, almost knocks us out, which is kind of unfortunate there. Deoxys comes in, but it does have the it does get hit by Sticky Whip, but it is still faster. It is Life Orb, and Golden Go comes in after. Shadow Ball does decent half, and Lulu is still ahead, even though this will likely die this turn, next turn. Let's get this Badef drop, so Naga can't exactly fish for kind of recovering, trying to fish for full paras anymore. I think they just have to go for Hex or whatever they have and try to remove this. Naga is still going to be kind of in the lead once this Deoxys goes away though, even though Gyarados is a very big issue for them. Gyarados can't come in immediately because of the threat of the Thunder Wave. So yes, this dies. Expect Gyarados to come in after Dracovish starts attacking and probably set up on that. That'd be the best option. This is slower, but Hex should not be able to knock this out. This reveals to be Choice Scarf actually, so it does that speed boost here. Dracovish will come knock this out. TNC comes in on a double, probably expecting Gyarados, but it will still be able to Mega knock this out because it will be faster after that. Gyarados comes in, but yeah, at this point you can't really go Ogre Pond, that will die, so you have to try to kind of DD up here, hope you live. This is kind of a 50-50 situation, because if they Diamond Storm and you don't Mega, of course you'll die. If they Moonblast and you do Mega, you'll die to that. So in the end, this is actually just going to come down to a 50-50, I believe. Because this Gyara should be able to easily eat whatever Dracovish does, and will clean if it gets the Predict right and Dragon Dance up. does. It does Mega, and yeah, now it goes for the big Moonblast. It does not kill. Gyarados does Dragon Dance up. But yeah, even though they did get the predict right, it does enough damage, even though this did live. It does enough damage, and Dracovish is likely just going to be able to kill this thing anyway, because it is heavily chipped enough, especially if it's Choice Scarf. And it won't have to lock itself into Outrage to actually get rid of this, which would be the win con, because you're able to hit that Dracovish with the Gyarados Crunch, then follow it up with Ogerpon's Horn Leech or Power Whip or whatever you have it. Now Diancie get taken down by this Gyarados, but this Dracovish will be able to live the crunch and be able to lock itself into Fish's Rend, which sucks because, yeah, that was just a 50-50 there in the end, because if Gyarados didn't Mega right there, of course it would be able to most likely lift that Fish's Rend, and then this Ogerpon will be able to clean up. It's definitely a super close game. Well played to both the players actually, especially Naga's part with that bait, with that Fortress. They barely won it even with that, but that was really good on their parts. Lulu almost won due to the prep though, with that just Blacephalon putting in work, with this Deoxys, even with whips putting in work. Unfortunately those whips going up did have a big impact. I would like to see maybe some boots on some mods deal with that. Let's move to the next battle, which is Silver versus Morpher. And Silver does bring the Alolan Golem. Most likely it can be Magnapult to try to trap this King Gambit. But King Gambit can run a lot of speed, it's faster, it can run a lot of speed, it can run low kick. And if rocks go up, then they can't just demolish this Golem with a low kick. Not sure how effective that's going to be. King Gambit looking insane versus the team in general, so I want to see what Morpher has for this. There's Annihilate too. I want to see what Morpher has on these two mons, especially, and to see if Silver has a way to deal with them. There's just lead with Ogerpon, which is a good lead on their part. Set up spikes as Lando goes for the predicted U-turn. This could be Shuka, this could just very easily have enough defensive investment to live. Depending on, I mean, this could be Pasho Berry, but depending on that set, I'm not sure whether or not I agree with this play, just going for that U-turn right there. One Zapdos could come in, could have been static. Annihilate could have gotten a Rage Fist boost, and a Spike does go up versus your team, which could or could not end up mattering very much. Uveil does take Spike's damage, does feel to be something. As this Incineroar comes in on Triple Axle, is this helmet? This could be helmet still, and this Weavile could be protective pads, but I'm trying to say this is probably just boots of their own. And this Weavile is most likely choiced. 2 hits come out. Lander switches in as expected. Will-O-Wisp or Parting Shot. Will-O-Wisp comes in, which is good play for Morpher because Silver does not really have any good switch into this Incineroar at all. At this point, this Landorus is just forced into the situation. Altaria comes in pretty freely. Toxic comes in. It does miss, but of course this Altaria does have Natural Cure in its base form, so it would not have been a super crippling issue for this Altaria. Although definitely could have worn it down over time. Depending on the set, this could end up mattering in the end. This is leftovers on Landorus, and Altaria goes for Protect and blocks another Toxic. I'm not sure what they're planning on doing here with this one. Fire Spin. Let's lock this in, and this starts taking damage. This Altaria could actually be Heal Bell too, potentially. Just Natural Cure, switch out into Annihilate as rocks go up. This just has its recovery just completely negated by that burn, which is very good for Morpher. They do bulk up on this Landorus, which can go for Toxic pretty freely. They didn't go for Taunt or anything to block that. So I expect they're probably Lum, they could be Rest. We've seen Sub or Taunt probably come out this turn if they did have that, so most likely they have one of those to deal with this. It isn't Lum. So either they're just getting really ahead of themselves here, and Morpher's just trying to break through Silver's team really early, which I'm not sure you need to make that play this early, if that's the case. But if this is something like Rest to deal with Toxic, then this is amazing, because this will just completely put Silver into his false sense of security, and he'll be able to get so many kills with this thing. But yeah, switches in, and this does go for res immediately. This Chesto Berry. It is in this Latias, goes for Shadow Ball as Rage Fist comes in. Latias didn't Mega, so it could have just not been Mega in the first place. Could have been some sort of like choice item like Weak Policy or something, or Choice Scarf. But yeah, going for that Shadow Ball means they didn't have a Psychic move, which is pretty bad versus Annihilate. Now this is just basically unrevengeable by this team in general, because Landers is burned, Weavile won't be able to kill this with the defense boost most likely. Everything else is slower. Thorn comes in, but Drain Punch comes out. Q5, it heals this thing back to almost full. Iron Barbs, Leech Seed. And this is a way to kind of deal with it in the short term, but I think this Annihilate is still just going to beat down this team. Goes for Iron Defense, but how much is that going to end up mattering? But this thing just gets the +6. They do switch out anyway as it goes for another Iron Defense. Probably go for Will-O-Wisp here. This comes back out on that. Flamethrower does come out as a special on Incineroar, which is good prep. I do think he could have just sat there forever with Annihilate and bulked up the +6 and then just rested and kind of just PP stalled this Ferrothorn. Because it can't damage you if it has Body Press or Kyber Ball or whatever. That Leech Seed is only just 12% per turn. Target does switch in. It is not Boot, so it's most likely Mega on this, on the Toxic. It's out as Blissey switches in on the Roost. At this point, yeah, Silver is going to have a lot of trouble breaking through this team if they even can at all. Ogerpon comes in on Blissey. Blissey goes for Calm Minds. Now Ogerpon's going to be able to do a big chunk of damage to this thing, particularly goes for Encore. Yeah, now Blissey's... Yeah, this is really tough for Silver. Because now they're kind of forced to go Ferrothorn, and this can just get up more layers of spikes, more hazards, can do whatever it wants versus this team. The Cudgel is of course a non-contact move, so that's pretty safe in general. They do get up another spike. They go for Synthesis. Bad as Body Press only does 32. Incineroar surges in on as Boots on the Leech Seed. And again, they're just able to throw off whatever moves they want whenever she gets an Incineroar, which is pretty big. I think Silver definitely needs to chip this Incineroar. But Annihilate is able to come in. It does get that 100 base power Rage Fist. Now it is 150 base power. And at this point, nothing can switch into this. Landorus is dead. Weavile switches in, and it can revenge kill this at this point. But again, yeah, Incineroar is able to come in pretty freely once more. The Boots are getting knocked off, which is pretty big. For Silver, now they can finally start chipping this, but I think it's a bit too late for that with their whole team worn down. This Weavile taking more and more chip. I think it's already almost over to Gambit. Him gets 1 SD, this Weavile probably just dies a Sucker Punch. Golem switches into Knock, Pasho Berry, and this misses a Will-O-Wisp as Thunder Wave comes out. Supercell Slam and a full para. A bit unfortunate for Morpher there, but at this point it doesn't seem like it will end up doing much because this Ferrothorn switches in. Probably Ivy Cudgel comes out, Horn Leech. That'll end up doing more damage. Better recover here, but Altaria switches in for free. Ferrothorn can still end up winning versus Morpher because Fire Spin from this thing won't do too much. But Silver decides to switch out to Blissey here. At this point, this is Para's Song. Ice Beam does actually just OHKO this. Oh, it doesn't. It looked like it OHKO, but it's left on 1 HP, which means it can't just roost this off. Did not exactly need to immediately Mega there, but it doesn't really hurt since they don't have any more status moves, it looks like. Other than Thunder Wave on this thing. Silver gets a crit there with the Ice Beam, as their Blissey will end up perishing this turn. As Morpher does sack the Ogerpon. Now it's just Weavile, which is in Gambit range. And misses Triple Axle, which is a bit annoying, but in the end, this shouldn't really matter, only for differential. Because once this goes out, I imagine this Gambit will be able to come in, will be able to SD, then low kick will be annihilating the rest of this team. It is Balloon, and he goes for Sucker Punch, which makes me think that this Weavile actually could have just been not choice and it was low kick. Or if I want to scout for that, which is fair. But if it wasn't choice, that means most likely then Annihilate would have been able to deal with it, Zapdos would have been able to deal with it. Golem comes in, we'll be able to see how fast each of these are based on if this thing can outspeed. It doesn't. This Gambit does not have low kick, it looks like. This Golem is able to take it down with the superpower. It's lift at 5%. And then Annihilate just drain punches. And whatever happens to this Ferrothorn to the last mon, Altaria should be able to always deal with it with that Parasong trap. So I'm going for Bulk Up to match this Ferrothorn. I'll skip through a few of these as the Zapdos does have Heat Wave, knocks out this Ferrothorn. 2-0 for Morpher. Definitely well played by them, I think, especially scouting out that low kick from Weavile. I thought it was just most likely choiced. And this probably just was low kick in the end. I got that play wrong, but I think definitely with these sort of bulky teams, Silver did not have a way to deal with this Annihilate immediately, and it just tore apart their team. Especially after this Landorus got burned, it was kind of just set up fodder for a lot of them. Last up, we do have Trixie versus Icebro here. And see the Spidops lead into the Delphox. First impression comes out, only does 29, as Flamethrower does 90 back. And this is Citrus Berry Spidops. Not sure what that's going to do here, but at this point Delphox probably just going to grab a kill. Unless Icebro makes a predict here. They could go Latios, I suppose. Recursion comes in. I want to see how much this takes. Psychic comes out. Crit does 96. Who comes in on Psychic does 88, but the Tentacle should likely be faster. Oh, Thief. Thief takes the Life Orb from Keldeo, as it takes the... It's interesting, it takes the Life Orb damage after it steals it. It's pretty funny to see. With Keldeo, we'll be able to get rid of this Tentacle real quick as Latios comes in on the flip turn from the Keldeo. Delphox comes in, we'll be able to see this Dragon Dance Latios. This can absolutely demolish Trixie's team right here. Especially if it does end up having Earthquake. It does. Delphox gets destroyed here. Superior. They actually switch out their Latios on Claire. I think Latios could have done a ton of damage to that thing, but this is a fair play going JIRACHI, saving Latios. Leaf Storm only does 20. As Superior gets skill swap, so it loses Contrary. And okay, this is really funny. I actually really like this set a lot. You're able to spam Draco meet Contrary to JIRACHI, and now the Superior does have Serene Grace. It can't do anything with the Leaf Storm after the Frenzy Plant miss, as JIRACHI is now just boosting its special attack. Of course, this Victini should be able to revenge kill it pretty easily, but I really like this. You can even take away the Volt Absorb from Jolteon and get that HP back. Victini comes in, just gonna KO this with V-Create. Now at this point, what does Trixie do versus this Dragon Dance Latios? It should come in for free on this, right? White Herb comes out. Nope, Spidops comes in to likely get some chip with that first impression. Because that thing to Jolteon and it reveals to be Flame Orb, which means that Spidops basically gets a kill with that stakeout boost at first impression. Can't ever really switch out on this thing. Spidops is definitely a beast of a wall breaker. Now Jolteon will likely be able to get a kill here, Electro Ball, but it will go down to Flame Orb. And Latios is looking better and better now that the impossible Shadow Ball user is gone. Back comes in on Sawsbuck, he goes over Headbutt. But again, Crobat, if it has a flying move, this is very free versus Trixie. It just has Toxic, as this Body Slam comes out and actually does not para this Crobat, even though it does have Serene Grace most likely. So definitely pretty lucky for Icebro here, because now they'll be able to kind of stall these out. I'm hoping this will take more and more damage. And this was basically the last thing possibly staying in the way of Latios from winning. It does go for agility here, but it's going to end up dying to the Toxic pretty soon. Goes for the headbutts, and it does not get a flinch as Fly comes out, gets more heals. And at this point, yeah, these two are set up fodder for Latios, and now that Sawsbuck is low enough HP where it will die in one hit, most likely to any hit Latios has, it won't be able to risk getting paired by that body slam. Fly only does a little bit. It has Pincursion get sacked to this Victinis and headbutts. Flip U-turn does a really nice chunk to this Latios, but does go for GD. And if it does have Zen Headbutt and Earthquake, it'll sweep. Psycho Cut's the same thing basically. Knocks that out. Bikini should die to Earthquake here. And Sawsbuck, I imagine, will also die to a Psycho Cut. I'll go for Dragon Dance here. A bit greedy to rely on this Crobat to win here. So you can take the Lumi's Fly and get crit, but it's still all but confirmed for Icebro. I believe Fly is 95 accuracy, but it does end up landing. Icebro wins. I actually really like some of the things they brought. The skill swap Jirachi was very heat particular, and G-Dance Latios actually went crazy into this team. Definitely some really nice tech from Trixie too. This Sawsbuck actually almost went in, being able to kind of just sprint yellow versus Icebro. If this Crobat got paralyzed by that body slam, that would have been very huge in the end. But those were all the battles for week 3, and I'll bring you guys next week for my battle and the rest of them. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.